Hello everyone, my name is Miro and welcome to what I believe will be my last video of the year, my last plant chore video. I do have one more video planned for you, which, fingers crossed, I hope that I get to record, though I am getting in the lazy mood. Christmas time, New Year, and then, here in Serbia we have the Catholic Christmas and then the Orthodox, which is in the 7th. It just gets very lazy, especially in a small town, and I tend to just marathon Lord of the Rings, etc. So I'm kind of, getting that pull. But, I just thought today we would do some planned chores, and thank you for joining me, by the way. I forgot to say that. This is a topic that I think won't interest all of you, but I do hope that you stick around, and I do hope that you stay because I think there will be some interesting thoughts, because I always think my thoughts are interesting. Who disagrees? Don't tell me. Anyway, we will be transferring more Hoyas from pawn to organic mix. I did this before on my channel several times. First time with not a lot of success at all, and then second time with bit more success. It did take me, in between. I also did this in between. It took me quite a few tries here to kind of figure it out how to do it, but I think I've got it. I think I figured it out. And today I was looking for some candidates. There are some more Hoys that I would like to transfer from pawn to organic mix, but I was just looking for those that are not necessarily actively growing or blooming, or if they are gonna bloom, that those are the plants that have bloomed many times, so it's completely fine. I also was looking for things that don't have many roots outside of the pot because courage. So we will deal with some of these today. I sort of have way too many of them. I have 4 here with me, and off camera I do believe I have 3 or 4 more. So that's very unrealistic. We do not want this video to be billion hours long. I would sort of like for this to be under an hour if at all possible, but it's probably not going to be. I just wanted to show you before we start and before I introduce the plans that we will be working with, I wanted to show you some of the successful transitions. If you are a regular viewer, and if you just listened to me what I said, you know that not everything has been successful. One of my biggest failures when it comes to transitioning from pawn to organic mix was my Hoya paradisa. I ended up having to chop that plant into way too many cuttings. So we have way too much paradisa now, but that's fine. That was one of the worst, I believe, transitions. Before that, I had some issues repotting from pawn, from a smaller pot to a larger pot. I do have a video on that, and it's sort of why I started to really dislike pawn, because repotting from smaller to larger pot, pawn to pawn, which a lot of people didn't get. I will never get over this. I'm not a person who gets over things easily, but I will just not get over this, where people just didn't even, compute that information in their head and thought I was doing something wrong. Like, no, I was just upsizing pawn to pawn. But okay, whatever. If you watch this channel, that I strongly dislike it. A lot of people will disagree with me, and that's completely your right, as is mine to not like it and to tell you that I don't think there is a one-size-fits-all solution. And it just doesn't work that well in my environment. It works okay, especially initially. The results are fantastic initially, I can say that, and that's what got me transferring so many Hoyas into pawn, but over time there are quite a few drawbacks, so we're not going to get into that too much. I just wanted to show you some beautiful Hoyas that, well, one of them is beautiful, the rest are just, okay. One of them is extra beautiful, and it's probably one of my favorite Hoyas. Top 3. This is Hoya caudata gold, and she's about to flower. She has 1, 2, 3 growing peduncles, if not 4. I did a Patreon video on this, and I think she actually has more than 3, but I sort of, can't count that high. I will just inspect her to make sure we don't have any mealybugs, but she's doing really well, and this is one of the best caudata leaves, in my opinion. I got this from Farah, I think 2 years ago, and she is kind of much larger. She was all the way up here, and I kind of untrellised her and made her more bushy here because it's growing and I want her to have a lot of space to grow. I only cut this plant once for my friend, even though I said I was not going to cut it, but I did cut it as a gift, and that's about it. One of the best Caudata leaves. It is an absolute stunner with copious amounts of that splash. I know there is a Argene one. I don't have that one yet. Maybe I will give it a go when it's like, you know, much cheaper than what it is now. I think now it's still in the hundreds. When it gets down to 50, maybe I will give it a go because I'm more than happy with this. In my opinion, this is one of the best Hoyas ever. And this plant was in pawn. It lived back here in my Rodsta cabinet and all of my Caudatas were in pawn. And to be quite honest, I did not expect my Caudatas to transfer well because they do have a bit of sensitive roots. However, so far, and I transferred about 3 of them, I think, and I still have more to transfer, my Puensis flagellata, and one Caudata that I think we will attempt today, and then one more, I think, from Sumatra. That one is about to bloom, so I kind of left it, though I have seen it bloom many times. Maybe I will do that off camera. But they are actually responding quite well to the transition. I also transferred, maybe in a video, maybe not, one of my Caudatas TN99008, which is very similar to Caudata from Sumatra. And that was a big established plant and it did really, really well. And this one did really, really well. And what had happened with this one, actually, I was showing it to my friend. I was taking photos of the leaves and it sort of fell out of the pond. It was well rooted, but you know, they kind of sort of fell off. When you tip them upside down, gravity starts to work, etc. And luckily, none of the roots got damaged, but I was like, well, it's out of the pot. Let's give it a go. Let's try it. And it was actually the guinea pig. It was the first Caudata that I tried to transfer from pawn, and it's doing really, really well. It grew a bit more. It's not a particularly fast Caudata, so it didn't grow massively, but it never has moments where it grows incredibly well, you know, it just grows okay at best. You can see we have roots in the reservoir, which, you know, are not an indication. To me, really, the indication of a healthy root system are more roots in the pot than roots in the reservoir. And there is a lot of healthy roots in the pot, almost all of them. They are really loving this mix. This is the mix that I make. It is bark, cocoa husk, pumice, and moss. So fantastic, fantastic transition. So that's one of the ones that I'm so happy that did so well. I have more examples I transferred in my videos. When I did my Paradise, I did Elephant, Ricardo, and Joy, and Priktai, and AH041. All of those are doing well, except of my Paradisa. I mean, she's doing well now, but you know. And I just wanted to bring you 2 of those, because I was too lazy to bring you the rest. But just so you can see my Hoya Joy, she's doing really well. It's probably one of the plants that I will actually get rid of when the time comes. It doesn't have roots growing out yet, but she's doing well. She was in a larger pot, and Rachel wrote to me, I can't believe you put it in a smaller pot, but you know, that's kind of what you have to do when you transition, because some of the roots get damaged, so I also trimmed a bit of the root system. We will see. I think with all of these today, I think they can stay in the same pot, but we will see what the roots are actually going to be like. But this one is doing really, really well. The leaves are nice and rigid, and she has bloomed since as well. I'm just going to put her off to the side. And then we have my Hoya Ricardo, who also has bloomed. This one does have roots outside of the pot already, quite a few. They were transitioned at the same time and doing fantastically, really. It's growing, it has bloomed while it was transitioning. The leaves are nice and plump. It's really enjoying its life. So I will share with you sort of what I figured out when transferring Hoyas from pond to organic mix. If you want to do it, of course, I'm not saying you should or anything like that, it's up to you, but if you do decide to do it, I will tell you what are some of my conclusions, what I think are the best practices, and to sort of make this as easy and as least stressful for you as possible. All right, we will talk about the plants that I will deal with today. I will absolutely deal with my Hoya caudata silver, which ironically is less silver than the gold one. This one also has a peduncle, but the peduncle is so small that I think it won't affect it too much, hopefully. I would like to repot it because we're getting to a spot where there's a lot of roots in the reservoir, and those don't look great. They kind of look nasty. So we will take a look at those. The plant, the leaves are nice and rigid, so I think it's fine, but I do want to transition it now. I think it's an okay time. It's not the best time, it's an okay time. So that's one of them. Now, I'm not really sure if we're going to do this one. This is Hoya Mirmercopa purple. She is in bloom, which doesn't matter because she has bloomed many times. It's quite a nice plant here on the trellis. I actually wanted to highlight in one of my videos, but I didn't. We are getting some yellowing leaves. I think she has never been a big fan of pond. I think she's just okay with it. We might give it a go. We might not. She has a lot of roots in the reservoir, and I don't think all of these look healthy to me either. So she's under a maybe. She's under a maybe. We have my Hoya Scortechini, and Scortechini is showing its butt to you. How rude. She is just unstable in the pot. There are some roots. They look really nasty. They look really matted, and I don't prefer. I don't know if you will be able to see that. Also, cyanobacteria or algae, whatever that is, don't know. But it grew to an okay size. I think I will leave it actually on a very similar trellis. It does bloom for me all the time, which is why I don't mind if it drops the buds. You kind of have to be aware these plants may drop their buds when you are doing these transitions. Anytime you repot, you risk young leaf falling off, you risk buds falling off, peduncles falling off. Typically doesn't happen with peduncles, but buds can frequently fall off if you are repotting while the Hoya is budding up. And baby leaves, sometimes yes, sometimes not. That I find pretty unpredictable. So let's just put on some mealybugs. Gloves, not mealybugs. Imagine wearing mealybug. So we will do this one today. I think that and caudata are for sure. I have another sure one, which I actually want to put on a trellis. I did not like this plant for some time, and now she started to grow much better. I do think she's in a need of a mite treatment. She's in a need of a trellis, and that's about it. This is Hoya AH049. I think I bought this from Basie, I think. She's all over the place, which of course does not contribute to her sexiness, but I can't, these leaves. Look at that. Will that even come through? This is one of those Hoyas that I tell you, in the same spot all throughout the year, and now the leaves are red. Beautiful, gorgeous color. Again, not really sure if that shows on camera, but it's just so beautiful. And this one also does not have that many roots outside of the pot, so I think she makes a good candidate for a transition. I also have some clover in pots. Don't really know how that got in there because I did boil all of my pon every time I used it. I really don't know how clover got in there. I actually think it was another plant that had clover in it, and this was in my cabinet with that plant, and one time the clover had a flower and it burst the seeds, and I thought it was a new pest when I saw those seeds. So I think that's actually from that incident. But anyway, that's getting really into a digression here. So I think we can do that first, Scortechini, and then caudata last. And if I figure out I didn't talk for too much, which I doubt it, I really doubt it, then I will add a couple of more to the mix. So I will adjust my camera here and start preparing the mixes. We will take a look at roots and then also the tips. Let's get going. Oh, I wanted to show you this one more thing, my Zygopetalum that I bought. I told you the two of the flowers are messed up. It opened another one. What a lovely flower, what a lovely color. Amazing. How do we look? Hopefully okay. So we will start with this Hoya AH049, a beauty. Such a pretty plant. And I will be using my mix, which I don't actually know, where is it? I don't know why I was under the impression that I have already made a mix, but actually not true. So we will make one now. And for the purpose of this mix, I have several ingredients here. I will be using a lot of the stuff from SYBOTANICA. And I mentioned SYBOTANICA in one of my previous videos. If you are based in Europe and UK, you can order from SYBOTANICA and I can now offer you a 10% discount. So this is not sponsored, but they did send me the mixes to try out and so far I'm liking them. Bear in mind, it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm so happy they have buffered cocoa husk and the moss is really good quality. The bark also looks very, very good. They also have a Hoya mix, but I didn't really, actually did use that for my Hoya Lucky, which I will report on. That Hoya mix, in my opinion, that they have is more for Hoyas if you're gonna be growing them in your regular room environment, not for the tents and not really for the cabinets, and also not for Hoyas with really, really sensitive roots like Hoya undulata. I would choose an airier mix for those, but for your more regular Hoyas, it will work, of course. I will be making my own mix with the ingredients they provided. So they have buffered cocoa husk, which we love because buffering is pain in the you know. They also have bark. I didn't open their bark because their bark is very similar, if not slightly larger than the bark that I buy at Aqua Genera. And I already opened another one, so I will be keeping this, but I will be, of course, using this. Moss, in my opinion, is better than what Aqua Genera sells. And the moss that they have is responsibly sourced in Netherlands. It's lab-grown moss, so there is, not actually pressure on the environment. So I really, really like this product, and I will be ordering more of, actually need to order cocoa husk. So if you do want to get a discount, 10% discount, you can use the code Basie Plants, B-A-S-I-E, well, you know how to spell plants, right? So you can use that code, and of course I do earn a small commission, which I will be absolutely using on potting mixes myself too. I will be getting like all of my cocoa husk from these people because again, I do not want to buffer anything, and I will be getting moss from them as well, and probably trying out some other mixes that they have, but let's shut up for a moment and just start mixing. Someone asked me what size of orchid bark I use. It's orchid bark +2 from Aqua Genera, and I think the similar is for pumice. And the pumice that I use is BIMS to pumice. So I will be mixing these. I have very little of this pumice, so I actually will be using the pumice from SYBOTANICA, which is, how can one lose a whole bag of rocks? Their pumice is smaller. I do prefer slightly larger pumice. You don't have to add pumice in your mix at all, by the way. You can just do bark, cocoa husk, moss. It will be fine. Some people grow in pure bark, their Hoyas. It's also fine. I do have a weird thing for pumice. I'm addicted, so. There are no particular measurements. I do eyeball this. I just try to go for equal parts of cocoa husk and bark. Oh my goodness, I have very little cocoa husk left. Now I will add the pumice. I was supposed to order pumice also, because finally we have it here. The pumice that we have here is from Lechuza, monopon. It's essentially similar size actually to this. I do like a slightly bigger granulation of pumice, but also at the same time, I don't want to be ordering rocks from the EU, because importing, not great. So I will use a bit of this SYBOTANICA pumice as well. I think this pumice would be much better suited for begonia. And let's just do moss. I really like this moss. It's nice, clean, it's so clean. A nice long fiber. I think I need a little bit more moss. This is approximately the look of my mix. It does tend to look a little bit better when I have larger pumice in there, but you know, we will use what we have. So that's the mix that I make. It's also very similar to the orchid mix that SYBOTANICA has. Let's just add that. I do want to try this out on my orchids, but I keep adding it everywhere. I think actually we will be limited by the amount of mix that I have. That's going to be the limitation for this video because I need to order more ingredients. So Hoya AH049 is the first one that I will repot. Now, my first advice for you when you're trying to transition a plant from inorganic to organic mix is don't get carried away and don't do too many plants. This was sort of the issue when I did it for me as well. And one of the reasons perhaps why that Paradisa completely croaked, because I think I transferred like 10 plants, 15 plants in the same day, and it became a little bit too much to constantly monitor those 15 plants. Now, that does not sound hard when you say it, oh, you have to monitor 15 plants, were you just lazy? Well, no, there are also 300-400 other ones that need monitoring, not just Hoya, begonia, etc. Life happens. So do small batches. Really, I recommend this. It's not great to rush this process. Another reason why I'm telling you take smaller batches, even if you have abundance of time, think about the space. The reason why you need to think about the space is because these transitions are unpredictable. Things may go wrong despite you doing everything right. These are plants that we are working with, and things may go really wrong and you may need to restart your plant. The issue is if you have a huge plant, and we know that long vines can be rooted, not ideal, especially with large leaf Hoyas. If you have to chop up a huge plant into small cuttings, where are you going to put that? And if you did 15 plants, what if all of them start to croak and you need to chop them? Sure, you can take a couple of cuttings from each one and throw away the rest, but you know, that's a waste. So just do smaller batches. In a couple of weeks, you should see if they adjusted. Usually, I think that's the time that it takes, maybe sometimes a little bit longer, up to a month, until you're completely out of the danger. But, you know, first couple of days look the best. First couple of days look the best, and then it sort of goes really downhill. Things start to happen, third, fourth day, they start to lose all the succulency in the leaves. They might get burned by your light because they get really dry. They can't really take up water. And this mix that I make does not retain a bunch of water, but it's a good airy mix. We really want airy mix. You sort of want to replicate what they had in inorganic mix. This is the issue with a lot of transitions from one substrate to another, from inorganic to organic, even from water to soil. I mean, why does a cutting fail if you root something in water and then it grows massive roots in water and you transfer it to potting soil organic mix that's very dense? Well, it's because you changed some of the basic components or basic characteristics of that. So we kind of want to go for a similar thing here. We are transferring from, for example, pon to this mix. So we want to keep it airy because pon is really airy, but pon is also quite damp. And in the first days, first weeks of the transition, they're not going to be able to wake up the water. The roots are going to be affected a little bit by the repot, which sort of always happens. So my advice to you is to monitor them as much as you can, and feel free to give them a shower every 2-3 days. I found that that really helped in my case. I am constantly talking here. I need to start working. There is some leca on the bottom here. There is the famous lava rock mud that happens on the bottom of my pots, even though it's been washed. Thank you very much for that. So the roots are not terrible. They are not amazing. This was actually in Lechuza's pond initially, and you can see here how it kind of got muddy. That's really gonna be hard to see on camera because my camera is so far away and I cannot be moving constantly here. Also, what I find is, don't do this. Keep your roots kind of close to the ground because pond is heavy, lava rock is heavy, and because it's heavy, the roots get damaged. So kind of keep it close to the ground. I'm not super happy with these roots. And some people have said in my video, the reason why you're not doing so well with pond is because you put leca at the bottom. Honeys, I've pulled out so many Hoyas from pond. Some of them had leca, some of them didn't. It was just sort of a thing that I tried. And there are no rules. And if there are no rules, it means it's not true. Because then all of the pots that I took out from pond that I put leca in, all of them would have rotted, but they didn't. Most of them didn't. But you know what a lot of them had? A lot of them had that lava rock dust. And the reason why I put leca in there is actually to aerate the mix, to sort of, when I water, when I shower, so that dust does not settle, but it didn't really help that much. Anyway, all of the mixes are dusty, bark is dusty, perlite is dusty, but this really tends to create something very, very muddy. So, not ideal. These roots are not great. I'm not really happy with the state of them. They are okay at best, but they could be better. I will most likely put this in a self-watering pot as well. But I will not be using the self-watering function in the first few days because, again, it doesn't make sense. If you use the self-watering function, they are not drinking the water very efficiently. It's just best to water them every couple of days, every 3 days. You will see how quickly the mixes dry out because even though there is moss, it does dry out super fast, this mix. Feel free to water the plant. And it should be, in a couple of weeks, it should be able to then use the reservoir, maybe up to a month again. Some of these roots, again, are rotten. Some of them are not. That's really the reason why I'm telling you, choose smaller batches. So we actually might just do 3, because I can monitor 3. On top of this, I have begonias that I need to take care of. I have orchids that need repotting. I have mealybug that needs to be destroyed. Photos of Hoya flowers that need to be taken, videos to film, so it's just best if I take these smaller batches, even though I get super impatient and I don't have to film a video. I can just sit down and in a day repot 200 plants. I've done it before when I was selling my cuttings, my aeroid cuttings especially, but also that would be just super difficult. If something starts to go wrong, I would end up with thousands of cuttings of Hoya. So we're not going to do that. Also, what I wanted to say here is what really, really helps is to put your plant in a higher humidity environment. If you don't have a glass cabinet, if you don't have a tent, you can maybe bag it, or maybe you can find a really, really large transparent box. They're available everywhere. And then judge by that, where will you put this plant until it's adjusted. So maybe if you only have one box, well, it fits 1-2 plants, then that's your magical number. That's how many you should repot at once. But I really, really recommend go for lower numbers. There is some rot here, which I will just I want to say trim, but I don't see my scissors. Do you know how many scissors I have? I even had scissors sent to me from the States by some of my patrons. I have like 10. I swear, I have like 10 different pairs of scissors and I never can find any. Okay, I found them, so I will just be trimming away some of the roots that I don't really love. And there's not too many of them, there's only like a couple of them. I mean, there are probably more like of these small ones that I don't really love, but this is where we are left. These branches could probably be trimmed too. I believe that this Hoya has struggled a bit with mites, and it doesn't help that she's not trellised. We can sort of see that the most growth of the leaves is at the base, so I think this one probably likes to have some type of support. I will just be putting it here, and we will pot them up in the later section. So let's do Scortechini next. I don't know if I should just leave it in the trellis. I will probably have to cut off the roots that are outside of the pot because they're super matted. This is just not coming through, and I'm not cutting the pot. I know a lot of people do get upset when, you know, plant creators, influencers don't cut the pot, but because, you know, plant is more precious than the pot, but I beg to disagree because these pots, not only are they expensive, not only is it hard plastic, it's good quality plastic, and we don't want to be throwing away pots. We don't want to be wasting good quality plastic, right? This could be reused many, many more times. So please just don't cut your pots. It's fine to cut some of these roots off. If you can reuse the pot, if it's like really, really good quality plastic, just reuse it. Now, I do fear that a lot of the roots with this Hoya were here in the reservoir. Ooh, when I said go gentle, I really meant go gentle. So Hoya Scortechini, as I imagined, makes really these matted roots. And I did fail with transitioning one Scortechini because these roots are very, very matted and they don't really love repottings. So we might need to cut this. We will monitor this one real hard. We will monitor this one really hard because this is one of my favorite plants. I love the leaf, I love the flower. So, you know, keep a close eye on this one. It does help to know also which Hoya has more sensitive roots, which one doesn't. And just judging by the look of the roots, you can kind of tell. Something like Finlaysoni tends to do quite well, and Caudata, I think because those roots are looser maybe. So I don't know, it's easier for them to recover. This, I feel that it tends to get more damaged when they're so matted, but we will try. You also don't need to remove all of the inorganic mix. You can leave some on. I tend to see what wants to fall off and I go for that. And I really think like my issue is just that it's been staying too moist, especially in winter. It's about 20 degrees in winter in this room nowadays. It used to be hotter, but I sort of have been adjusting my plants to slightly lower and lower because it's really too much for me to be sleeping in like 23 degrees. Come on, because my bed is like right off the frame. Ooh, intimate. Anyway, there are not too many rules. There's not too much advice for transitioning except to, again, really take it slow and to try to go for a very similar mix. And this just applies everywhere when you're repotting. Like, try to go for a similar mix. Something that's been growing happily in a very dense mix may have an issue adjusting to a very airy mix, and vice versa. Especially vice versa. If something is in a very airy mix, that may absolutely detest something that's denser. Yeah, I think we're gonna stop here. You can just see on my gloves, these are, despite them looking maybe superficially good, I think we do have a lot of like damage. So I'm just not gonna, maybe I could just do this a bit. I'm not gonna push it too far. I will most likely retrellis this because we didn't do the most amazing job here with the trellising, but I don't know. Why do they need pots? Wouldn't it be so cute if you could just hang your Hoya like that? Like, do we absolutely need a pot? Look at that. Be an epiphyte. And let's do the Hoya caudata. This one does have a tiny peduncle, but it's so small that I think we can do it. And I'm a little bit afraid for these roots because they didn't look the sexiest. Oh, oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, they're not the sexiest at all. Oh, shoot. Yeah, there's some rot there. Some nice rot. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, oh, it's absolutely disgusting. So we will be cutting off that rot. I'm just trying to clean this off to see where the rot ends. Probably would be better if I did this in the shower. Oh my goodness. The roots that grew into the wick rotted, and the wick is super moist. You know, self-watering does have some of the drawbacks. Oftentimes in the reservoir you can get rot, especially if you're me and you tend to underwater. Is that a mealybug? Okay, we are gonna have to have a talk because I removed all of the mealybugs from you. You got treated for mealybugs too, and now I see one. Honey, we are gonna have to have a serious talk. I'm really fighting them and I'm throwing everything at them and they do not want to stop. So I feel very discouraged and I am taking it slowly. I'm listening to my own advice, but man, this is actually quite discouraging. Ooh, okay. Oh, look at that disgusting mud. That's just all from lava rock. Not a massive root system on this Hoya caudata. We probably have more mealybug eggs on it than roots. I guess I will look over this plant. I will, I guess, retrellis it just to make sure we got under. I did change all the Velcro tapes and everything, but hey, apparently these devil spawns, don't care if I get demonetized at this point, like they are just horrible. So as you see, much looser roots on Hoya caudata, which again I think does contribute. I really think this contributes. I think super matted roots just don't do well. I'm not really sure why that is. And of course, everyone, if you have any questions for the transition, you can leave them down below, or if you have any suggestions, but I think this is pretty much it. Try to maintain similar level of aeration and moisture. I think this is crucial. Try to be gentle with the roots so you can damage as little as possible, because the more you work them, and if you kind of dangle them, micro damages happen, and they are really a good way for pathogens to just enter your root system. So we don't want that either. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then keep it in higher humidity after the repot. Keep it watered, not overwatered. Maybe that's a bit tricky because I know that a lot of people do overwater and some of them underwater. I personally know one who underwaters. So none of these are good. This is really like a crucial time where you need to be taking good care of your plant. So do not underwater, because dry rot will happen much faster. So will root rot. You know, so just keep your S together when you're doing this. Keep your S together. Do small batches, but keep your S together. I'm gonna go clean this up a bit, wash my hands, prepare some pots. Okay, so I come back to you with trellises, with prepared pots. Sort of prepared. I do need to trim the inside of these pots, the zip ties, because it's my new thing that some of you have been suggesting, and I actually do love that. So we will just get these ready and then we can repot. I did change this trellis, because this one fits. The one that I have Scortechini on is not wide enough to be grabbed by zip ties. This one is. I don't really love this trellis, but it's gonna serve its purpose. And then we took caudata off of her trellis. These are not super stable, but you know, it's still better than not zip tying them. It does make it a little bit difficult when you're potting the Hoya with the star trellises zip tied, but once again, just maneuvering things like a pro helps. So we will first start with caudata. I'm just going to grab some of my moss, just a tiny bit on the bottom to connect with the wick. Then we can sort of move on with the rest of the mix. See, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do this. This is what our caudata silver looks like. As you can see, she's not really small. She is kind of big, but I will wrap her tightly because I just think they look a little bit better. Again, it was one of those that was all the way up on the trellis, and then I sort of brought her back down because I am optimistic. I'm an optimist about her growth. And we do have another growth point there, so that's nice. We will try not to bury that. Just place the roots in the pot and then, you know, do the best you can with potting. I wish I could somehow do this. I actually kind of can. I kind of can. That's the least messy way to do this. Tips and tricks. Get very large hands. I mean, it is kind of genius, isn't it? Certainly better than going this way. Sometimes it is hard to get this everywhere around the roots, but just, you know, patiently move this around a little bit. It's okay if there are some gaps, but let's not leave too massive gaps. That seems to be pretty well. Maybe a little bit of shaking, but I'm happy with that. Let's do one right away to hold our vine. So as you can see, like, we can totally fill this trellis. I can totally do this and get towards the end, but I usually, what I do, especially like, you know, your Hoya is growing, you maybe don't think it's time to extend the trellis, and I don't think it's time. You can hoop it twice around the same level with these rabbit fence trellises, which I recommend, sometimes even more than twice, depending how many leaves you have, how big the leaves are. And then you get a really, really nice bushy Hoya. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying too, because like, oh, my Hoya was just big and now it's small again, but yeah. Plus I find that caudatas, once they are established, they are kind of fast growers. Initially, some of them can be slow. Oh, I don't like this leaf. Anyway, caudatas initially can be a little bit slow, but once they are established, they're pretty good. Not the small-leaved caudatas, caudata from Sumatra, I find that fast from the get-go, but these bigger leaves, Hoya caudata silver, Hoya caudata gold, they can take some time to establish. But once they are, you're basically safe with them. They are really, really good. Maybe it was slightly prettier before, but you know, we will shower it, we will water it, and then keep it closer to the entrance of the tent, because if I put it back in its spot, I will forget about it. I need to see it at all times when I open the tent, because then I will actually remember that I need to water it. Because Cortechini, you know, expects us to trellis it, let's just do the AH041 first, or no, AH049, which is gonna go on this trellis. And this is going to be much easier. These are super easy to trellis on. With these, because they like a little bit less water, I don't care if moss makes contact with the wick. And now, let's see. This is sort of going to be the front side, so I'm going to turn her butt to you, like so. Oh my goodness, this is just such a pretty Hoya. It may be one of the few, well, not few, I'm going to definitely keep quite a few cultivars, but I think this one is gonna stay. Flower, it did flower. I don't think I have a photo. It's a typical Finlaysoni type flower, nothing spectacular, but it's good enough. We really need to get on top of mite treatment for this one. Even though she has been treated for mites, I don't know, I feel it's not enough. Play nice. Also, sometimes it might be hard to get them on a trellis if they have never been on one. But we'll manage. Let's see. On this other side, we have this bare vine, which to me looks like she could be cut off, but let's keep her. Maybe she will branch out. And then one more vine here. I did think about cutting this one too a little bit. That ending is not the nicest of the trellising, but I think she could have looked better, but it is what it is. Future will make her look nicer. Hopefully now we get a little bit more leaves, because these on the bottom are actually stunning. And then we will see. Maybe we need to put her in a different spot temporarily. Let's prepare Velcro for Scortechini. That one has so many vines. I don't even know where to begin. We'll just begin with the potting mix. It's just so messy. I actually think I trellised it around itself mostly. You know, this one had mealybugs on the flower, but very quickly I seem to have got ridden of them. I would like to hear how you're doing with your potting mixes. Are you transferring some to pon, from pon? I see in comments a lot of the times people will transfer to pon, and I encourage trying out everything. I did. I mean, I do it too. God forbid I don't try out something. Sometimes it leaves me in a pickle because I tend to overdo it. So I can't try out with one Hoya. I have instantly to try out with 50 or more. And, you know, that can be a little bit problematic sometimes. But I would like to hear where you are. I also see on Instagram that a lot of people that I follow are also switching from pon for Hoya. I think a pon can work really well. I'm thinking about pon for begonia. I think that will be a great success. And it's not that it's not successful for Hoya. Once again, I said they did okay. But over some time, some issues started to happen, which I don't think it's because I'm an idiot, which people love to suggest. But it's just, you know, not one size fits all solution. Where does this vine go? Will this plant tell me? Okay, so I will kind of hold it up like this to untangle it. Patience, Miro, patience is your friend. I also used to grow this as a hanging plant, but somehow it's really messy. I think if I trimmed it more and if I like made a pot with more Scortechini, this could look really nice hanging. I also grow it on tower trellis at one point, and that was okay too, because you can imagine this is just not so nice hanging. It's just way too all over the place. So let's put it here. I could actually take a cutting. Someone asked me recently for a cutting of this, and I'm like, oh, I can't cut it. I can't cut it. But I usually, when someone asks me when I say I can't cut it, it's like I'm just too lazy to currently untangle that plant and see where I could cut it. Very quickly we'll be done here for today, which, while I do love chatting with you, it kind of makes me happy because a couple of last days have been really intense. I finally got optic internet, but I'm having some issues. If anyone here is like an expert, why does my MacBook Pro 16 2021 model, it's limited to like 100 megabits per second with Wi-Fi? It doesn't want to go over that, even though my fiber is faster. And like on a Windows computer that my sister uses, it's like 5 times faster. Can someone explain that to me? Thank you. I tried to troubleshoot it. I tried restarting, I updated the computer, everything. There are a couple of fixes that make you go into terminal to turn something off, but I don't know, it's just not working. For some reason, and it's across all of my Apple devices, my iPhone, my iPad, they just do not want to go over that speed. I really don't understand why. Let me just see if this is... Okay. We do have a part of a root here that I don't like. It's kind of really matted, but the rest of it seems fine. So hopefully this Hoya will like it. And now I'm just gonna quickly trellis this, quickly wrap this around. I actually cannot believe how many cuttings I could have taken of this plant. Dear person who asked for Hoyas cortechini, if you remember, I mean, if that's you, let me know. Interestingly, these vines seem to be really handling it well. A lot of the Hoyas, even small-leaved Hoyas, the vines would break by now, but these seem to be really taking it well. I'm kind of impressed. Okay, I think I'm sitting on a vine. I also need to fix my patella. I'm super scared of fixing that one. That's a really tangled Hoya. That I'm actually so scared of fixing that one that I'm thinking about how much easier would it be to just restart it than to retrellis it. Because that one is wrapped around. At least the good thing about this plant is it seems to be one of those Hoyas that you can just infinitely wrap around the trellis. And number one, she doesn't mind. Number two, the more you do it, it kind of starts to look good. But it is also a Hoya that in the beginning can be a little bit slow, so don't get that intimidate you. Eventually she picks up, or maybe she doesn't pick up, but you know, eventually you've had it for years and then it's bigger. So that's what happens with Hoyas cortechini, but it's really one of my favorites. I love the flower. I'm super sad about the other one that I messed up with the repot, but hopefully I can rescue it. It needs to be re-rooted. I may have said that I'm re-rooting it. I'm not. I'm planning to re-root it, and the plant is extremely dehydrated. But I think it's going to be one of those chores that I do over the holidays that I don't record, because there's quite a lot of them too. We're only recording the manageable ones. The unmanageable ones, I guess I'm just gonna play a movie and, you know, do it. A repotting marathon with a movie marathon, with a Lord of the Rings marathon. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I'm just gonna tuck these in a little bit here. And I will leave some of them to kind of be loose, I guess. And I think we're done here with Hoyas cortechini. I will just make sure this is somewhere towards the front and tuck it in. You know, someplace. There we go. And this one can wrap around itself. And that is the end for the Hoya cortechini. Okay, so all of the Hoyas are here, repotted and trellised. I think this is enough for me to take care of for now. We will do more in the future, but for now, I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me today. Let me know if this was useful. Should I do more of these in the future? I think I will probably do them because, again, on YouTube, a lot of people tend to miss these videos and you kind of have to repeat the same thing again and again, which I don't really mind. I will see you in the next video. We have one more left for the year of 2024 and then a bunch of them for 2025. Remember, if you do want to try out SYBOTANICA potting mixes or individual components, you can go to their website and you can use the code Basie plants for a 10% discount. And as I said, I do get a small commission, so we need more cocoa husk. Go buy it. Have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. And, you know, we are almost done with the year. Oh, you know what my biggest wish is? For all the mealybugs to mysteriously croak in my collection. All of them, all of them, all of them. Anyway, have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye-bye! I would like to thank all of my patrons for their incredible support. A massive shout out to my $5 patrons, my 2 anonymous patrons, Alex von Siebenthal, Amber Clear, Anne Margaret Moen, Angela Bernard, Angela Parrish, Anna P. and C. Aspen Drake, Betsy, Brett Noble, Connie Pagano, Daniela Danube Daniels, Donna Rolls, Deepanjali Rao, Ether W., Erin Keenan, Elena Saxon, Ellen, Farah, Ferdis Verdance, Francis Wilkins, Gathering Moss, Gina Geisid, Gina Radovic, Go Green Tropical, Gross, It's Kyle, Growing Nurse, Hannah Matlin, Heather Uppingham, Hoji Scott, HoyaCuttings.com, Yana Griffin, Jessica Chio, Jennifer Martin, Jonas Barry, Heroth Larson, Joshua Davis Riley, Yovin Denot, Kara, Catherine P., Casey Gross, Callie Gallagher, Kelso, Kimberly Polka, Kiwi Mochi, Christy Ehrlich, Ellen, Bergley Mooney, Lisa Mary MPLS, Lucas Erchevsky, Mandy Milliken, Marcel Har, Maria Stein, Marina Yarmolich, Morris B., Marty Miller, Mary Rose, Melissa Walker, Michelle Heron, Mirka Grun-Roos, MJW, Moa Edmond, Miss Seidenhar, Nelly Yang, Niha Basu, Nicole Maroney, Nguyen, Nita Macy, Odette, PJ Plan, Druid, Sykes Zera, Rachel Peterson, Rebecca C., Sandra Cornelius, Sharon Bone, Sherry Kumar, Sophia Rian, Starla Van Lith, Stephanie H2O, Suvi Cordecongas, Tessa Martins, Thomas Marsden, Tia B., Trista Bailey, Tristan Thomas, Wendy Rossman, Zenia Green, Youth of the Walamut, Zaira Rivera, Zordarama, and Zlokop Niponi. Also, a big thank you to my $3 patrons: Anna Malaya, Karen Kilone Constance, Daryl De Rosario, Eden Corlett, Yana, KPZ, Lindsay N., Mary H., Monica Wykers, Nella, Nerdy Kathy, Renee Church, Ringlov, Sheila Casper, Tangwata Nasria Cool, VH, and Wendy Foreman. And a thank you to my $1 patrons: 1 anonymous patron, Alice Borland, Andre G., Aquila, Brandon Pacheco, Catherine Molina, Couture Helvetica, Emilia Bronson, Jolie Sullivan, Kayla Vavra, Kelly Ash, Chris Perez, Laura E. Jackson, Lauren at Tugboat Plants, Lori Ann Subramaniam, Luzmin Fernandez, Marga F.V., Mary Diamond, Neely Spicer, Olivia Chen Mueller, Pacific Northwest Plant Lady, and Tracy the Eyebeller.